Hello, and welcome to today's video. Also, welcome back for me, who came back from a short weekend, but my first weekend off PD2 since Season 11 launched, or effectively since the beta. So anyway, I wanted to talk about Mercenaries because it's a topic that I get asked about a lot, but I haven't really talked about in depth as a general cover. So I figured let's get that out of the way. For newer players, mercs can be a little bit confusing because there's so many of them that can be, a little bit of a head spin. So with that said, let's get into the video, starting with the Act 1 mercs. And when I say Act 1, I mean you purchase them into Act 1. Each act has its own mercenary in Project Diablo 2. Like mercenary type, so like the first one is like the, I don't know how you want to call her, like an archer type merc from the camp. You buy it from Kasia. She's like the merc vendor, essentially. And she can give you 3 different mercs. Okay, you have the physical arrow, slow movement, it says, fire, vigor, and there is a cold meditation, which right now is not being offered to me for whatever reason. So generally speaking, the 3 different mercs here are all useful at different times of the game, so it is important to kind of know all of them. Sometimes you want to use one at a different time. I'll start with the meditation merc, despite her not offering me one. So meditation merc gives you the meditation aura. It's an aura that gives you mana regeneration. Generally speaking, it is not used often at the end of the game. It's mostly used at the beginning of the game, because at the end of the game most people can solve for their own mana regen quite simply. And at the beginning of the game, there are more mana issues. You need to drink more potions. So if you do have these kind of mana issues, you can always acquire this kind of Act 1 merc, Act 1 cold merc. She will shoot cold arrows, which in normal and nightmare difficulty can be quite nice to just like slow down your opponents a little bit. So that's generally the Act 1 meditation merc that is for some reason not being offered to me. I bet if I open a new game, it will be offered. The second merc, let's talk about the physical arrow, slow movement. Physical arrow does not give you any kind of aura, so a lot of mercs do give auras, some of them do not. The physical merc shoots magic arrows, uses strafe, and uses slow movement. These are all Amazon skills. So magic arrow just shoots an arrow that deals magical damage. This is useful if you're just trying to kill something that is physical immune. Or immune to whatever damage type that you're normally doing. Strafe shoots arrows pretty fast in one direction. That's at one like opponent. That's pretty good if you're trying to proc something. Proc meaning like your weapon has maybe chance to do X on strike or on attacking. So that's kind of useful for that. And slow movement, letting you slow down projectiles and also the movement speed of different enemy mobs. This is nice for more safety. It adds like a little bit more, layers of defense to more fragile builds. For example, I used this on my Dark Pact Necro, my Cursed Necro, so it just kind of kept them safer from ranged attacks. That's generally what you use the slow movement merc for. I mostly see people use the physical merc on actually summoners with the demon machine setup, the green goblin setup, whether it's on druid or on necromancer. That's seen a lot of use in the past couple of seasons, where they teleport and basically through using innocence, which is an armor that has blade shield, they proc a lot of multi-shot from demon machine, which is just like a crossbow that does that. I don't think I have one right now over here. But I've shown it in other videos before. So that's what the physical arrow is mostly used for. Mostly in endgame situation, it fits like some specific builds. And the last one is the Vigor Merc. And the Vigor Merc is very, very nice. It is used both in early and late game scenarios. And just to give the example why, because it gives a lot of movement speed. So both in the early game, it helps you to save some time, move around a little bit faster, especially before people gain access to movement options like teleport, gust, or blood warp, whatever. So it is a very, very nice merc early on, but also in the late game when you're mapping with all sorts of land walking builds like physical builds, shapeshifters, Amazons that do range damage, but they do still have to walk. So all these kind of builds, bar builds that have to walk around, really enjoy this kind of Vigor Merc just because the extra movement speed really helps clear faster. On all these builds, they really have enough damage to do maps by themselves. They just need to move faster. So these are the 3 different uses, or 3 different mercs for Act 1. The Act 1 merc, that's how their layout looks like. They can use bows or crossbows. They can also use bolts and arrows in Project Diablo 2, which is pretty cool. Generally speaking, like they can use Amazon stuff as well. So if something is Amazon class restricted, like specific matriarchal bows or all sorts of things like that, they can still use them, which is a nice little thing to know. But yeah, that's generally speaking. Okay, sorry, I just got a message from the trade side and it threw me off. So yeah, that's how the Act 1 merc works, and now let's move to the Act 2 merc. Something I didn't mention is that for the breakpoints, in terms of attacking, this merc uses attack speed in order to attack faster. They start with 66 Pierce. That's kind of like their baseline. They need like more Pierce, but they start with 66, so that's kind of cool. But that's how their base stats look like when they're like no equipment. Alright, let's move to the Act 2 mercs. Okay, so for the Act 2, you again have 3 different mercenaries, and one of them sees significantly less use, and that's the Thorns one, the Combat Thorns one. In the OG game, we had different auras on them that were accessible as well, but they changed some stuff probably for a good reason. So 3 different mercs: Thorns, Defiance, and Blessed Aim. I'll cover the Thorns one quickly. It gives Thorns aura. This is a return damage to attacker type aura. So it is a cute merc. I think it has a few niche cases where it's useful, but for the most part, you won't see most people use it. So we're just going to put it aside. The main 2 mercs are the Blessed Aim and the Defiance merc. One is aggressive and one is defensive. From their names as well, you can see that: defensive, offensive. And generally, Blessed Aim will give you Deadly Strike and a lot of attack rating. That's what it does. So it's mostly used on physical-based builds, especially ones that don't really need the Vigor merc, who don't need the extra movement, or ones that just want a tankier guy on the front lines. That will also boost their damage quite significantly. So a very nice little offensive merc. I used to use them to run like Ubers when I was using like physical builds like this one, right? And you can equip them with all sorts of like rune wards or amp weapons like Reaper's Toll or Pride. So very nice offensive physical mercs. The defensive mercs are used by everyone pretty much. It's one of the most popular mercs I'm pretty sure in the game. And the reason is it gives you a ton of defense. Defense is great because it means you're going to get hit less, and it gives you physical damage reduction. I think it gives you like 10 PDR at that, like the highest level, or maybe it's 9, and I'm like forgetting the numbers. But generally a super popular merc. It is very commonly combined with Innocence and Ferocity. Rune wards, this is the Helm and Armor rune wards, which basically make him kind of like a taunt stick. I don't know how people want to call them, where like you teleport or walk around with them, and they basically get hit. They proc taunt, which means like they hit and proc taunt, and they make everything attack them. This is a super common choice for a lot of casters to use. A lot of people like this to just kind of keep them safe. Teleporters really like it. So very cool merc. Another benefit of the Act 2 merc is that he can use Infinity rune ward. Infinity is of course the rune ward of choice for most elemental casters, because it does have a conviction aura. So again, a super flexible merc with a lot of rune wards available to him, a lot of different setups that can be used, and just generally a very tanky and solid, reliable type of merc, because he, unlike a lot of the other mercs, is one of the least likely to die mercs in my opinion. So that's something I really like about him. I think that's really cool. So these are the Act 2 mercs. Generally speaking, they also use attack speed as their like stats. Let me hire one, even though I like Heather. She's my Vigor merc. So let's acquire ourselves a Defiance merc just so you can see it. So this is the Act 2 merc. You'll see you cannot use bows. You can only use spears, polearms, things like that. Everything else is the same. Use gloves, belts, boots, armor, and helm. And they're pretty cool overall. Maybe we can check how much PDR he actually gives us. It is 9% PDR. So as you can see, that's pretty cool. Also, our defense soared like by 4k, which is pretty cool. So yeah, generally speaking, great merc, really useful. If you are acquiring an Act 2 merc, make sure to get yourself either a Gulzar or an Achsab. These are the best two mercs, regardless of whatever class they get. Do not get an Emilio. This is very important, so I just wanted to make sure we include that in the video. So let's go ahead and move to Act 3. And you can see like their breakpoints for attack speed and faster recovery. Other than that, they don't start with anything significant like Pierce on the other characters, but they do have more stats like strength and dexterity, so they can equip more types of armors and gear. So that is kind of important, maybe. I didn't mention the name of like the vendor, the merc vendor. I also forgot it by now. So you guys saw where you can buy the Act 2 mercs. Hopefully I don't need to get back there. For Act 3, you buy your mercs from Ashera. She's sitting here in this cabin. She also has like a little trade shop. She doesn't sell anything too special. But yeah, that's Ashera's. And I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge Act 3 merc fan for the most part, but I can't deny the strength of some of these mercs, especially on a lot of speedy setups. They're very nice. So generally speaking, let's buy ourselves one of these mercs. Maybe I'll buy the Holy Shock one. Prayer cleansing. Let's buy. I'll decide soon maybe. So you have three mercs again in Act 3, and you have your Holy Shock merc. Holy Shock does not have more. Sorry, I say does not have more skills. He does have more skills than Holy Shock. So generally speaking, he will cast Static and Lightning or Charged Bolt. So it is a very nice merc. In my opinion, it's a very strong merc for a lot of lightning setups because of the static. Early on, it is very strong. Deals a lot of damage, and of course casts static, which is super useful. So generally, let me grab this merc. So generally speaking, these mercs actually use faster cast rate and not attack speed in order to attack faster. So this could be a misconception because they do use weapons. They use scepters generally. So you can let me see what scepter I have, and they can use shields. It's pretty unique to them. They're the only merc that can use shields. Do I have any scepter that I can just put on him? Not this. I don't think I have something that he can wear right now. Right, because he can't wear sticks. He can only wear scepters. So yeah, sadly I don't have something I can put on him right now to demonstrate it. But generally, he gives the lightning shock aura, which gives lightning damage and just deals lightning damage to things around you. It is also really useful at gathering aggro from different mobs, just because like the Holy Shock and like the static just covers a lot of AoE. So if you're just trying to get stuff together at one point, I feel like this merc is also very good at that. So yeah, generally speaking, very nice merc. It's often coupled with the rune ward Exile on the shield that gives you extra defense. It's a Defiance aura shield, and it also gives you a chance to cast Decrepify when he's struck. So very nice shield, very good for defensive setups. Casters, people who like teleporting. I like using it a lot on my Poison Nova merc, for example, but I've also seen it being used on setups like Vengeance or Sacrifice for the Paladin, just as an example, and also some sorceresses may use that setup. For the other two, you have Cold and Fire. Fire gives Cleansing Aura. Cleansing Aura will reduce the length of poison and also the length of curses for you. Generally speaking, I've only seen people use this during early game and not during anything else. Somebody joined my game because apparently I don't have a password. I'll say hello. I forgot to put a password. Sorry. Not available at the moment. Okay. So generally speaking, Um, yeah, that was a little random. Um, so generally speaking, the Fire Merc gives you that cleansing aura. I haven't seen him being used too much in general. He does cast Meteor and Fireball, and can deal quite a lot of damage early on. So you can definitely use him for that. But the Merc I've seen used a lot more is the Prayer Merc. This is the Cold Prayer Merc. He both casts Blizzard, and cold damage is always useful because it's kind of like a defensive layer, just like being able to slow down enemies. Um, he casts Blizzard and Ice Blast, which is very, very nice. It deals less damage, generally speaking, but he gives you the Prayer Aura, and Prayer is great because it heals you very, very fast. So, very nice setup for people who don't have a lot of sustain available to them. In the past, people combined Prayer Aura with an Insight rune word for a cheap mana and life regen setup. They can no longer use Insight on their scepters, so sadly that setup is no longer available. But they are still very, very strong for healing. I think they're very nice mercs early on and late game. They're used on many different setups. Really, really nice merc. Something that is important to remember about this mercenary is that towards whatever element they are, fire, cold, or lightning, they will have a lot of mastery for. You can see that like he's level 93, has 820 elemental mastery, which means that if you give them more elemental mastery, if you give them Pierce, they do a lot of damage with their weapons. So that's something with their casts, I should say, because they are casting in order to deal damage. So that's something you might want to keep in mind when you're gearing them. Things that give them more mastery, more pierce, can be quite useful for them. So that's just something to keep in the back of your head when you're using the Act 3 Mercs. So yeah, they're pretty awesome. Not used as much by the common players like me, but they are very, very strong both early and late game. Next, we got the Act 4 Mercs, and in Act 4, you actually only have two Mercs, the Dark and the Light Merc, and both of them are pretty strong. I think the Dark Merc is a little bit more popular. They were recently nerfed because they were so strong, I think, but they're still very, very good. And generally speaking, these Mercs, you have the Dark Merc. The Dark Merc does not give you an aura, but he does cast Amplified Damage, which is really cool. So being able to cast Amplified Damage is super useful. Basically, he gives you insane amp for anything that deals physical damage. Super useful. Access to amp early on, both like in early game and in late game, is super good. So that's very nice. Other than that, he deals magic damage. He casts Bone Spear and Teeth as his offensive spells, and he casts Bone Armor to keep himself safe, which is pretty nice. Another cool nifty thing about the Dark Merc is that he has Curse Mastery, and because he has Curse Mastery, it means that you can dual curse alongside with him. So he basically gives you access to something usually only Necromancer would have access to, which is having two curses at the same time. You can theoretically equip him with an item that also deals curses, and he will also cast his own amp from his innate spells. So very, very cool merc. I use it on a lot of different setups. I think it's incredible both in early and late game, so I really recommend checking this one out. The second merc is the Light Merc. Let me grab the Light Merc. The Light Merc has this kind of Sanctuary aura. This is great for builds that deal magical damage and don't necessarily have access to Sanctuary. So if you're not a Paladin, basically, or if you are a Paladin but you want a different aura equipped, so Holy Bolt, for example, can equip Redemption Aura or Salvation Aura for defensive purposes and have the Sanctuary Aura come from the Mercenary. Generally, as you can see, he casts Holy Bolt, Fist of Heavens. He also casts Holy Light to heal you. So this merc is also sometimes used with some summoner setups just to keep the summons alive because he heals them. Like Fire Golem, for example, used to use him quite a bit. Cool thing about the X4 mercs is that they can also use Infinity because you can use Infinity on staffs. That's their weapon of choice. So now maybe I can show a merc using a staff, right? That's his weapon. So he uses two-handed staffs, not wands and shields, two-handed staffs. Everything else, of course, is the same: gloves, belts, boots, armor, and helm. Again, super useful mercs. They use a faster cast rate, again, like the Act 3 mercs. in order to get their breakpoints. You'll see that 125 is where they get their final breakpoints. And generally, they'll get more damage and better skills with plus skills. So you want to equip them with plus skills and with general faster cast rate to reach their breakpoints. Other than that, they have a lot of life per kill. So that's generally how they stay alive. So you do want to get them a little bit of damage just to make sure they're getting some regen in. And they're actually killing stuff, because that saves you healing them. They're usually pretty self-sustainable, and they're pretty great mercs overall. Both of them, I think, are pretty useful. Again, both in early and late game situations. And lastly, we have the Act 5 merc. I didn't mention it, but you buy the mercs from Tyrael in Act 4. And we have Qual Kank, that after saving the barbarians from the cages in Frigid Highlands. So after you save them, you can talk to Qual Kank. He'll give you a little bit of a reward. I'm desyncing a little bit over here. But you can talk to Qual Kank. He'll give you a reward. And then you can also purchase your mercenaries from him. And again, you have two options, similar to Act 4. Two options for mercenaries. You have your Whirlwind and your Concentrate. One says Battle Orders, the other says Might. Generally speaking, the Whirlwind and Concentrate are two barb skills. These are the skills they will be using. The Act 5 merc uses one or two-handed weapons, but he cannot use another weapon or a shield. He always uses just the weapon. So let me buy one. Let me buy the Whirlwind one. So we buy the Whirlwind one, and you'll see that the Whirlwind one casts Battle Orders. He does not give you any aura. He does give you Battle Orders though, so that's pretty cool. And as you can see, he will do Whirlwind attacks. Sadly, this one is not equipped with any gear, so he's not going to do a lot. For IAS, the Whirlwind Barb doesn't need anything because it's just spinning. Spin doesn't need IAS. Let me help him. I don't want him to die. So yeah, he doesn't need IAS, but he has great stats, great res, great strength and dexterity. So overall, very nice merc. Mostly the Battle Orders merc is used early on before people have CTAs, but some people don't like running CTA. Maybe some people don't want to spend on CTA, but they do want the Battle Orders. So that's how you solve for that. You get yourself a Battle Orders merc. I really like using it early on when I'm like leveling, going through normal, nightmare, you know, or mostly like nightmare and hell, because you get him in Act 5. He really helps you with just like extra flat life and flat mana early on, so can be really useful in Sorceress, for example. Generally speaking, they are used quite a bit, but I don't think they should be as popular as they are, because of course Call to Arms does solve for having Battle Orders, right? Even if his Battle Orders is a little bit better than yours, it's just a little bit. It's not enough to justify spending your merc on this, in my opinion. So this is just my opinion, but early on he's pretty amazing. The other merc is the Might merc, and as it sounds like, he gives you the Might aura. Might aura is great, generally speaking, for all sorts of physical builds. It just gives a lot of damage. He uses Concentrate, so also does quite a bit of damage himself if you give him the right tools. But generally speaking, most people usually substitute the Might merc with a Templar's Might eventually, and grab a different merc to carry this armor for them. Generally speaking, that is true, but some builds do still like running this Might merc, especially with where's my little barb helm? Oh, there it is, Cyclopean Roar. This is a barbarian only helmet, but it is very useful on this merc. As you can see, he can use it. And the good thing about this helm is that it casts Battle Cry, which in combination with Amp can break physical immunities quite well. So this is like a very common kind of helm to give these kind of mercs, just for them to break even more physical immunities, give you more physical resistance spirits effectively. So that is a very common thing to give these mercs. This one doesn't need IS, the second one does need IS, that's important to remember. And these are all the mercs in the game. We covered all the Act 1 to Act 5 mercs. So I think that's it for the video today. So if you enjoyed this content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I hope this video was useful, especially to newer players who are unsure about which mercenaries to choose and when to choose them, what do they do, and how do you equip them. And yeah, with that said, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good whatever you're having till the next one, and yeah, bye.